When we do some trainings with the staff, I tell the people we are not order taker. We should surprise the people that they get a special moment. We create really special moment. The people should not forget that they have a reason to come back. You should not be the superstar. You should feel them, that they are the superhero when they are coming.
Sit back and grab a glass. It's Wine Talks with Paul K.
Hey, welcome to Wine Talks with Paul K. And we are in studio today on a blustery day here in Monrovia in Southern California. About to have a conversation with Stefanie Hehn from Hamburg, Germany. She's the lead somm at the 5-star Fontenay Hotel, as well as a Master Somm. Introductions in just a second. Hey, have a listen to a couple of shows coming out. I have one show that kind of blends immigration to America with the pursuit of a wine career. This is with Zaya Yunnan, and that's coming out soon, so have a listen to that. But not while we're here today, here a conversation with Stefanie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi.
You know, we were just talking about Germany and the German wine scene, and it's, you know, I don't know that the American market is tuned to it right now. We seem to go through cycles with Riesling in particular, but other German wines as well, that they were very popular. When I first started doing this in 1988 with my father, we sought, you know, great Rieslings to present to our customers, and then they kind of faded away. They come back. How is that market in Germany? Do we see the ebb and flow of Riesling, or because it's sort of the noble grape of Germany, it's a rather steady appreciation?
I think it was still, there was a time when it gets really fancy. Maybe it was 3 years ago that the people really have been crazy about old Riesling, and Riesling was really famous. And now the people are again interested in other great varieties. I think at the moment it's really nice when they have some Pinot Noirs. That's an upward trend, that the people are interested about the quality of the German Pinots. And what we do, we sometimes try to do some things which are not in fashion at the moment, is we show a Silvaner from Germany. If you have international customers, that can be really interesting for them, because our German Wine Institute, they are just pushing Riesling and Pinot Noir international. And Silvaner is a great variety, what is a little bit different, because it's just grown in Germany and in the Alsace and a little bit in the north of Italy. But it's a really good structure grape. And it's a wine what you can show in restaurants with food. If you don't want to change for red wine for main course, Silvaner can be a really good possibility to drink one wine for a whole menu. And yeah, we do it sometimes in the wine pairing. And yeah, I think this is really good.
You said something interesting about the German Wine Academy.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about my father's certificate to a 7-day class called the German, I forgot the name of it.
It was the Wine Institute, I think.
The Wine Institute, right.
Yeah.
So, but you're a Master Somm, which is the penultimate degree from the Court of Sommeliers. And I know there are not a lot of women that have this degree. There's one right here in my neighborhood, Elizabeth Schweitzer. She's been certified for years. She used to work here, actually, at the Wine of the Month Club. But why did you do that? What was the pursuit? And was your family in wine? Were you in wine? Was there just hospitality seemed like an interesting place to go?
Yeah, it was. I was a lazy student, so.
Well, it's nice of you to admit that.
So I finished school after 10 years and thought working would be easier. Then I started doing a trainee program in the hospitality industry in a little hotel. I'm born in a wine area. I'm born in Franken, so that's where the Silvaner is coming from as well. But I'm coming from a spa city, so we have a lot of mineral water where I'm grown up. And around the city, there are some vineyards. So in the place where I did my trainee program, there was a 1-star Michelin restaurant with a really good, the owner was really good because we always had to try what we served. And then I thought, why do we serve this wine with this course? Where is this food coming from? And this was really the story behind everything. It was so interesting that I started learning. And because I was so lazy, I wanted to have a graduation. When I learned, I wanted to have something. Yeah,
You're very
so
humble about this laziness.
yeah. And then I started when I was finished. After you in Germany, you do this trainee program for 3 years. And afterwards, I moved to another place in a 2-star Michelin restaurant. And then I started working together with a good sommelier and already focused on studying about wine. And then I think I was 21 or 22 when I first signed for a German sommelier program. And this was, they told me in 3 months, you can have your exam and then you're a sommelier. But this was just a little drop on the mountain or a little drop on a hot stone. It was just the beginning of the education. And then when I was finished with this program, I thought, okay, let's continue and go on. And then I started with the Court of Master Sommelier program. And then I thought, okay, entry level, the introductory and certified. Okay, it's nice. Let's continue. Advanced is really good. So with the advance, it took me, I had to go 4 times. It was the third attempt, then I passed. So it took me 3 times to pass the advanced exam, and I thought that would be the highest level I could reach. And I was happy with it because during that time I was working in a 3-star Michelin restaurant as a head sommelier full time. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'm not clever enough, and advanced is okay, it's good. Not that much people on the market who have this graduation, and then
So
I'm happy.
let me
And
stop for a second. Advanced is the level just
before
just below
master,
master.
yeah,
Right.
and
Okay,
it is,
good.
but it's
For the listeners.
kind of difficult because you have to pass your exam during 3 days. And you have to pass all the 3 parts, the
At one.
tasting, the theory, and the practical. So you have to prepare everything. And if the first day is okay, and then the next night you have the pressure for and it's just in the 1 year that you have to pass. And that was always when you are already tired, because when you work in a 3-star Michelin restaurant, sometimes it can happen that you are tired.
Yeah. Let me ask you, let's stop you there for a second. Was that a surprise that when you got into being a master somm and running the wine program at a 3-star restaurant, that amount of work? And the reason I brought this up is I have very close friends in the industry, of course, and they all work in different types of locations where some get to go home at 8 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
And some don't, and some work till midnight. They got to clean up, whatever they got to do. So, was that a surprise for you that there was so much effort to put into being a lead somm at a 3-star restaurant?
Not really. It was, I knew before that you have to work a lot, but yeah, it was. Yeah, and I enjoyed the work because it was really on a high level, and I think fine wine with really high quality of food. It was so exciting to have every day working with a crazy guy in the kitchen who has good ideas every day and serving food out of trees. That was more that I was so happy to see how the people can be excited about eating and drinking. So I did never think about that this is a hard work for me. But afterwards, it was just difficult for me that if you do this job, you don't really have enough time in your, you don't have spare time to study. And
But you
you
were
can't
lazy.
live your life.
But you're a lazy student. How did
Yeah.
you do this? I mean,
Yeah, I had to tell my chef in that time that I'm going to leave because I wanted to push for the Master Sommelier exam, and then I just quit the job.
wow.
But I was already 5 years there, and he could understand it because for him it was the dream to achieve the 3-star. And then he said, I can't say stay if you want to follow your dreams. And if you think you don't have enough time in your head to be concentrated for studying. And then I think it was the best decision because it was long. You should not work your whole life in a 3-star, or for me, I should not work in a 3-star Michelin restaurant for my whole life because I also want to live my life. Yeah, and not just to help other people be happy. I
No,
like
but
to
that's
see how happy they are, and I love, and that's still, I think it was also, even if that was a hard time, it was also a good preparation for the rest of my life because, and even for the preparation for the Master Sommelier exam, because I knew that if you go push a little bit harder, it can be worth it. And
is this,
you can do more than you think you can. It's like if you prepare for a marathon, you can, you can push yourself more. Sometimes if you think, okay, after 25 minutes I'm done, but if you continue training, you can be faster and you can do it longer. Yeah.
that's interesting. Those are interesting thoughts. You said a lot of things that I want to kind of peel back here. And one of them is, and I don't think this is unusual, that you might choose, if you're going to be in a 3-star environment, that you might be choosing between your whole life being about hospitality
Yeah.
and the rest of your life. I mean, and it seems like in today's environment, in order for 3-star restaurants to exist with all the social changes and all the different post-COVID problems, that they need to be more efficient. They need to get the maximum value from their employees, and they need to maximize all the parts of their business. And that just requires a complete commitment on the part of, let's just say, the master somm or the somm of the restaurant. And I sensed that. We were at Tour d'Argent in Paris a few weeks ago, and I was looking around, watching the staff and paying attention to the somm and how he was working. I thought, wow, this is a serious commitment of your life to hospitality, to be, and you called it fine dining or high level of dining. Is that the way it feels these days to be in that environment?
I think it's really I still love this work. So we are still having here a good restaurant in the hotel. We started in 2018 with the opening. So the good thing, after I left and after I started with my preparations for my master exams, I had the opportunity to come to Hamburg. So the 3-star was in Bavaria, and I moved to Hamburg, and then I had the chance to do a opening of a 5-star hotel as a head sommelier with an empty wine cellar. So that was,
Wow.
normally we don't really do like we don't write a master, like the master like the master of wine, they have to write an essay. But for the master sommeliers, our theory part is just kind of practical. We just speak, we don't write. But what I did, for my preparations, I could write a wine list for a 5-star hotel with 2 restaurants and 2 bars, just from zero. And I could do an international wine list, and nobody told me what I should put on this. It was just carte blanche, and they trusted me that I am not going to spend too much money and that I will do it as the people like to drink.
I
and
think
and
I,
that was
I
a
think
cool
too much
thing.
money for I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think too much money for a restaurateur or a hotel is a whole lot different than too much money to the somm who's putting together the list, right? I mean, this.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you were doing this list? This is a very interesting point because there's a whole. I don't know if you're aware of some of the socialized issues with they're calling it dumbing down wine, and we need to change the language. And I don't agree with any of it, but it's interesting that you had to start from scratch, create a list.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? Because I mean, did you know who the Hamburg 5-star hotel or the Hotel Fontenay
Yeah.
client was, or
Yes.
you were doing sort of looking at the whole industry of wine and saying, I need to represent it all? What were you thinking?
I thought, because before I was in Bavaria, I was working in a 5-star hotel in Hamburg as a sommelier, not as the head sommelier, but I was working in the sommelier team. And so I thought, okay, I know what the people are drinking, and I knew that a lot of people have been also visiting the place where I've been before. And
Ah,
during my tastings, when I did my blind tastings, I had already a lot of wines in my mind which I wanted to buy. Because when you travel and when you go somewhere, it's in the wine areas, you already write down and you remember years afterwards that this
mhm.
wine should be nice on that place. And in Hamburg, the good thing is we are in the north of Germany, so we don't have any wine areas around. The people who are living in Hamburg they are open-minded because it's a harbor town. So you
Mhm.
can bring wines from all over the world because they don't really care if the wines travel by ship. That's a good
Interesting. Well,
thing.
yeah,
And then I thought that would be also really cool for my preparations, because I need to study about all, because I'm lazy. And then I had the
that's a
reason to
theme.
study about all the wine areas of the world and to think
That's
about
great.
which wineries are interesting wherever. And
You
I
know,
could do something, and I had this wine list to create. And if you do it, it took me about 3 months that I had to look for the wines, talk with some distribution people to save the wines in their cellar till our wine cellar was finished, that they
you
could
know,
deliver. Yeah.
it's an interesting thought there. Um, because I just was sitting with a restaurateur here in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
and he was saying that his bottle sales were off considerably, like 40%, which is more than most people are suffering
Yeah.
from. And he brought in a new somm to revamp the list. This is a Mediterranean restaurant, and he decided to use all Mediterranean wines and get away from the standards.
Yeah.
So, and you said something earlier where you notice what people were drinking. And so, is this a decision on the somm's part? And you mentioned you travel the world. Well, like we were just in Sicily, and I got to take, Mascalese.
Yeah.
I got to drink some of these Etna mountain wines and things that you don't really see on lists here in America. And so the argument I'm making is, do we look at wine lists for what people are drinking, which is what you're bringing to the table having been in the field, versus what you think they should be drinking based on what's being made in the kitchen? Do you have to balance this idea because you want to expose your clients to the really interesting wines of the world that would do well with the foods there?
Yeah,
Or you
for us
whatever
it
they want?
is. I think when it it depends on which part of the hotel the people are coming. We have a 2-star Michelin restaurant in the 7th floor of our hotel, where the people are drinking. I think 80% of the people who are coming are drinking the wine pairing with the menu. And
Oh, really? Wow.
so this is really good, because I thought I do the wine pairing out of the wine list. So I sell all the wines. Like I try to don't have 2 wines or 3 wines from the same area in the wine pairing, and I just do like a world trip of wines in the wine pairing. And I usually have 1 wine or sometimes 2 from Germany, because if we have international guests, they want to taste what we have. So, and in this case, we have, I think, 80% of the guests who decide for the wine pairing are happy to be surprised. And if the other 20% are expecting get the wines they know, sometimes you find it out after the first wine already. Then you have to try what they like, and then they don't get the wine pairing, what is really like the best pairing with the food. In this case, we would have some wines by the glass, which are good value for everyone, and you would find different things, what we can do by the glass. And what I write it with the wine list, it's not not just like my favorite wines from worldwide. It's more, I think it's about 80% is classic.
Wow. Beautiful.
And because I think if it's getting classic, it should be great. Otherwise, it would never get a classic example for an area. It's like we do. If we have wines from US, we have rich Montebello. I would say this is classic,
Wow.
but
Wow.
we do by the glass at the moment a wine from Sonoma Coast. It's
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir from it's I forget the name. I don't. Now I
We
have
can get it.
it's
We can get
with
into
a
the weeds
C.
about some of these wines. But let me ask you another question. Do you prefer, and this is for the listeners, this is for the listeners that may show up at a restaurant, a 2-star restaurant in Hamburg or anywhere, do you prefer as a somm that, for instance, at Tour d'Argent, when I was there, a beautiful list, obviously wonderful Bordeaux and Burgundy on their list, aged as well. And I just told the somm, I go, look, here's the budget. It was like 450 euros or whatever it was. And we like Bordeaux for this case. And just let the somm do their work. They know most of the wines on the list. And in your case, you know every wine on the list because you created it. But a lot of times the somm walks into a current list.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer that over, or how do you handle that? I mean, like, I don't know if this is, Spätburgunder with this. I don't not a good idea. So do you just let the client understand what you're thinking but let them decide, or do you prefer when the client says, here's my budget, here's the districts we like, and we're about to eat this, make some recommendations?
I think you would ever find something if they tell you what they like to drink. You can find you can find an example what fits with the menu. What would be maybe in the budget, the wine which would fit the best. Yeah, and even if it's not like the perfect match, they will be happy to drink the wine. And
As a somm, you prefer being able to
sometimes I do.
exercise,
Sometimes I say I would recommend if it's like a course where what we did. So again, it is a Pinot Noir from Sonoma It's Veritas,
Oh yeah, right.
Salina, 21 vintage, and it is like that is a really good example. We have a main course with lamb from Limousin, and we do Pinot Noir with it. And
Wow,
sometimes the
really?
people think with lamb you should serve something heavier. And I
Right.
had a guest, he was drinking, he thought about drinking a Syrah from Barossa with it. And
Oh
then I
wow,
said, if
that's
you,
a dramatic difference.
yeah. And then I told him that we are serving a Pinot Noir with it. And if he wants to have a Syrah with it, I would have a wine from Hermitage. That's not that you tell them that what they want to drink is wrong.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
give
That's hard.
them just a little bit something what goes a little bit more in the direction that they are happy. Yeah. And even if the wines are too young, you should tell, how do you like the wine? Do you like it when it's still more on the fruit driven side? Because this wine could age longer. Something like this. I think
Yeah,
you
right.
should always help the people to have more fun with enjoying wine and food.
Do you think? Do you feel like that most people that come to your restaurant are educated in wine, or they prefer to rely on you, or they just want to drink the standards? Let's say you have the basic Bordeaux's or the basic Napas, that they just run with what they usually drink.
I think we have all of them.
You do.
Yeah.
And
So
where are they
it's
from?
like
What's your typical client? Are they
it,
American,
we can't say
European?
we have any typical client. We have a lot of people from Hamburg because the people love to go out in Hamburg, and this is really a good place. We are in the middle of the town in a really nice, quiet area. And it's in the 7th floor, so they have a really good view. We have a lot of people from Scandinavia, from Denmark. Yeah, there are also sometimes people from US traveling. The only thing what is not so good is that you can't fly directly to Hamburg. You have to fly to Munich or Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or London, Amsterdam. That's the
So
only thing for the
it's a destination.
yeah.
It's a destination to get to Hamburg.
Yeah.
And what's it famous for? What's Hamburg famous for as an industry? Do they have, glass or porcelain or?
Yeah, we have the harbor industry. It's like we don't really do industry. It's more we are famous for logistics.
Oh wow! Okay,
Yeah,
because of the
and
harbor.
yeah, and ships or like Reederei. What's the yeah, they are building ship.
Oh,
Sometimes. Yeah,
shipbuilders.
yeah,
Wow. Okay, so let's get back on the one. I just wanted to. I
yeah,
haven't been to Hamburg. I thought maybe I'd find out what's going on over there.
yeah. It's more
There is a
like
lot of
for trade and for logistic. The
okay.
city, what we are famous for.
There's a lot of, and this is going back to your training a little bit, because I've been reading recently. I went back and found magazines in the wine trade from the 70s, around the Judgment of Paris days, 75, 76, 74. And I'm reading these articles from Michael Broadbent and Harry Waugh, these famed critics. And they're very similar to what's written today. Language is, how they describe wines is a little bit different. My father used to cringe at some of the descriptors I would use, because generationally we use different things. But it seems to me that the position of fine wine has never changed, never will change. But there's and it just seems like generationally there's a movement. Every time we're going to do this, we're going to change the language of wine. We have to dumb it down. We have to make it more approachable for people to understand. But it never happens that way, because in my opinion, everybody comes to this point where they can go to a Michelin-starred restaurant or even just a fine dining restaurant and listen to a somm that's properly curated a list and enjoy a proper, honest glass of wine. Have you seen any shift in your career from the when you started understanding wine to today's consumption, that people are not as educated or more interested in pairing or less interested in pairing? Have you seen any shift at all in the contemporary consumption of wine?
Yes, I think it was after the lockdown.
Yeah,
The
that surely
people,
did a lot.
the people came back and they have been highly educated.
That's true. They
Yeah,
were drinking much
yes.
more at home, weren't they?
That was so funny to see, and it was really interesting to see because I think the average price of a bottle of wine what we sold after the pandemic was minimum 10 to 15 to 20% higher than before. And the
Wow.
people, they have been talking and they have been asking questions. I think they, yeah, okay, maybe it was also because they have just been sitting at home with their closest friends, our family, and they really enjoyed going out and talking to other people. And I think after this period of time, it was it gave a big push to the people to study and to read about wine and to create a wine cellar because they
That's really
needed
interesting
that.
you said that.
Yeah.
Because I think contemporarily, I think at least in social networking and other parts of the wine conversation, you would hear people think the opposite, and I agree with you completely. We here at my company was the original Wine of the Month Club, the original direct to consumer business in America, and our sales were up 30%,
Yeah.
and when the average purchase back then was like, let's say 20 euros or 20 $22 or so, they went to like $100 or
Yeah.
100, and I couldn't keep those in stock,
Yeah,
and then
same in
when it
our
was over.
place. I always struggle with buying wines. It's like now I buy wine for a lot of higher entry level price for the wines by the glass, and then you just get 60 bottles, and then they are already sold out, and then you have to buy again. So
Yeah,
the
right.
easy wines nobody wants to drink.
Okay, that's really funny.
Yeah,
I'm
in
glad to
our
hear that
place.
because I don't like getting into arguments, on social networks because it's really silly and it's just a waste of time.
Yeah,
But it doesn't anger me, but it frustrates me that these conversations are occurring when when you see it in your restaurant,
yeah,
what people are actually doing. And it's all the rest of it is, in English we call lip service, right? It's
yeah,
just a waste of words because what the reality is, people are enjoying
yeah,
fine wine. They are enjoying the conversation with you as the head somm
yeah,
to do that. And the other thing that's interesting to me, and I want to ask you what's happened on your list, and this is also generational.
yeah,
In my father's store, we had Boone's Farm, Strawberry Hill. We had Lancers and Matus and these wines that were easy to drink. In the '70s, you had White Zinfandel, and now we have these White Claws and these flavored sodas and ready to drink cocktails, eroding the base of wine sales. But there are some movements I think that are kind of interesting.
yeah.
Organic, biodynamic, orange. Do you even have a section on your list for any of those categories?
No, I don't have a separate section. I just put them in the list. And for us, it's more that we don't really have too fancy wines. It's just like a little bit orange, or even if it's orange, it's still kind of clear and clean. So
Yeah,
that,
right.
and
Which is
then we do like we have a Pinot Grigio from Trento, from Foradori, what is pink. And sometimes I say to my sommelier team, I say, with some people you have to tell them before that this wine is pink, If it's, and with some people, it can be funny to don't tell that.
Well,
But
that's interesting. Because Pinot Grigio's got that pink skin
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
so
But this
it's
is
just
really,
extended
really
fermentation.
pink. And there are a lot of people looking for Pinot Grigio, which is clear or gray in color and which tastes not really intense. And
Yes.
if this customer's getting a Pinot Grigio which is pink, yeah, you should tell him maybe better before. If he was looking
If
for
they
a
ordered
German
it,
Pinot Grigio with a really clear, straight, crisp style. But sometimes it can be really funny to see the reaction, and then they say, why is it pink?
yeah. Well,
And then you have
I
a
didn't
good
order this.
start in a talk. And then you can tell, it's a variety which is pink skin, so it should have a little bit color. And then it can be cool to sell such a wine. Yeah. And
There was a, go ahead.
yeah, and sometimes the people then they are really happy and that it's that Pinot Grigio can taste really intense and have this juicy character and even some tannin structure. Yeah.
So here's what I found through tastings here. Every Tuesday morning for 35 years, I'd go to the tasting room. I'd stand there at 9 o'clock, and the salespeople would come in and bring their wares. And it became sort of this temperature of what was going on in the wine trade. Whatever the salespeople were bringing in, and I was doing it every week, I had an understanding of what the marketplace was being presented and what the consumers were. And of course, we saw all the ebbs and flows. But what bothered me about not only the organic and biodynamic movement, the orange movement, was it was almost an excuse for the wine to be a little too rustic, a little too edgy, a little too rough on the edges. When you and I know the Burgundians, the Bordelais, they were organic by nature, were
Yeah.
they not? Before they introduced pesticides and insecticides,
Yeah.
and so I found this to be, well, it's organic. Well, I still want a pleasant experience when I open a wine with it's organic, biodynamic, or orange.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to feel like I'm drinking it for my health because of some kind of
Yeah.
kombucha, right?
It still should taste that you want to drink more than one sip.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that was interesting.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I also do, if I buy some wines which are orange in style, I have a look if I put them sometimes in a glass for 2 days. And if they oxidize too quick, I don't buy.
that's I never
Yeah.
thought. I used to put wines out, have them pour, and I'd come back in a few hours
Yeah.
to see what happened because sometimes the flaws don't come out
Yeah.
until later. But 2 or 3 days, that's really
Yeah,
interesting.
sometimes we do that. If it's really wine like this, and I think orange should not be an excuse for faulty wines.
Yes,
Yeah, and
agreed. That's a
sometimes
great way to put it.
they sell wine more expensive than single vineyard wines, and it's a worse. It's not their best quality what they put into the orange. So it should be. It can be an interesting style.
You
If you
have,
have good quality, yeah.
since we're on orange wine in Georgia, the country of Georgia's, probably the originator, or at least propagates that story. And I went to a tasting. I went to a raw tasting. Not sure if you're aware of raw. It's that Isabel from the Master of Wine from London. Actually, she's French, but she's from London. But she has this group, and they go around all over the world, and they have these tasting events called Raw. And so I went to the Georgia section, and there was that really old world version of their orange wines. I mean, amphora, untouched, and just really hard to drink, but very traditional. This has been going on for years. And then there was another table that was all proper current technology, stainless steel, clean version of the same types of wine. And they're two different things. Do you see a consumption trend any different, let's say that 10 years ago, like in other words, I asked this question about orange wine, but I'm talking about even old world Bordeaux versus New World Napa? Do you see a trend or how people are drinking?
I think the trend is that the people want to know where the wine is coming from and how it's made. They are asking more
They do.
questions what the people do in the vineyard, because now they know how much some, let's say farmers, not only winemaker, it's also with the production of food, that
That's really
with the
great.
vegetables that they spray a lot. And so the people are a little bit more asking, or they are happy to hear if the winemaker is working organic, or maybe, certified organic. I don't think that everyone does really understand the difference between organic and biodynamic. But I think that's something what our customers are looking for, and they prefer more the origin than a label.
I'm
But
glad to hear
that's
that.
just with wine. With champagne, it's crazy. So because you have this really big group which is drinking just the small grower champagne, but that's a really small group, and we still have the people who are looking for the big brands. And in this case, they don't really care about how much it costs. If they are looking
Really?
for Krug or Röderer Cristal
Yeah.
or Boulanger de Coteau Enfant or something like this.
Comte de Champagne,
Yeah.
Comtesse.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I wonder why champagne, because I love champagne, and they're pro. In fact, I went and visited Monsieur Clovis Tétanger in Champagne a few weeks ago, and I thought they're pros the Champagne district they're pros at making things feel like you're part of the group, even though Veuve makes 25 million bottles or some whatever the number is. I'll be exaggerating probably, but I always been fascinated by the way they were able to position the style of wine, and you always feel like there's something special going on, even though it's a mass marketed huge brand. And I'm interested to hear that the consumer is different.
Yeah.
How they look at it is different than a regular consumer.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think so. Yeah.
That's
And
really,
I think sommeliers or wine people, they are more focused on the small grower champagne, and as well some sparklings from other places than France. What is
I agree.
growing in Germany is German sparklings. We do really good quality of Méthode Traditionnelle Sekt from Germany, from growers, and as well the Austrian do a great job. I've been tasting something really nice from Jaculi, from the Basque area.
Wow.
Or as well from the Penedès in Spain. It can be really great. Yeah, I think
That's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the great what's the word? I'm not going to say failure. That's a little too strong, but Hans Cornell, when they came to Napa in the 60s, maybe before, it was a great story of a German influenced sparkling wine from California that I think through family, I can't remember the story exactly, but the family kind of fell apart and the whole brand fell apart. But it was a very popular brand, and it was a well-known story about the German immigrant who came to America to make sparkling wine.
Was it Schramsberg? Or
No, it was Hans Cornell.
Cornell. Yeah.
So I'm glad you said this earlier about people asking the questions, because in the marketing of wine now is convoluted. It always has been in a certain case. But when I reflect on my father's, I'll show you this picture. This is my dad's store in 1975. Cool. He's standing in front of and the imports are in front of him and the domestics are behind him. It was complicated then because it was relative. But now the idea is telling the story, and certainly manufacturing techniques, farming techniques, the history of the winemaker, is part of the story. Because I contend that when somebody buys wine on the internet, that's not a story. I got it for $5 a bottle or $10 a bottle, through some web service. The story really comes down to what you're saying, which is people asking the questions, and that your list, you can tell a story behind each wine on the list.
Yeah. I think
Do
that's good. That's the reason to go in a restaurant or to go in a good wine shop if you have those people. Yeah, you have to be the one who's telling the story and to surprise the people. Yeah.
I just posted a sound bite or a video bite from Steven Spurrier when he was on the show. And the part I picked out was really interesting, and I hadn't heard it for a while, which was wine needs to communicate something.
Yeah.
And that's when I think you might, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you see a customer taste a wine and their eyebrows go up or their face changes, does that light you up when that happens? Does that make you feel good?
Sometimes I do with some wines. I think they are perfect with the course, and you taste it together and you think, oh, cool, perfect match. And then you try to tell the story. But if it's not a story, if it's not a good story, after 1 week, I say, okay, we don't buy more of this wine. I need better stories to tell. Even if it fits
that's
perfectly.
our job, right?
Yeah, it's sometimes it can be really boring then if the story is not that much interesting. Yeah.
Well, but doesn't that just go along with the idea of what? Wine is consumer driven. Our job is to sell it, it's to romance it, is to give people the story. But when it's all said and done, it is a connection to your soul, and it is the reason people come to a restaurant like yours to experience it. And
yes.
I don't think that'll ever change, despite all the noise we're hearing today about changing the game of wine. I don't see how it changes. How do you change wine?
You can change.
You can't change it. It's 12,000 years old or 6,000 years old already, right?
Yeah, you just tell you. I think it's always about the people behind and about the areas where the wine is coming from, and it's a lot of emotion. And the good thing is, if the people are in the restaurant or in a bar drinking and enjoying the wine, they don't really think about what happens in the world. That's also the good thing of job of a sommelier. You are always creating special moments for people that they focus on the good things of the life, to enjoy, to have this hedonistic situations. Just
what kind of aged Bordeaux and Burgundy do you have on your list?
We have 85 Chateau Margaux still.
Wow.
Yeah, because when I created the list from zero, the good thing was the people already knew me in the distributor. I called everyone and said, okay, the cellar is empty. What do you have?
That's not good.
Old vintages. And it was really cool. So I had a really good distributor from Bavaria who is a negociant for a lot of Bordeaux. So we also have Mouton Rothschild, we do 86, we have 92, we have 98 Lafite, we have younger vintages of, but let's say younger, like 2000 and 2005 of 2005 Petit-Canet, 2000 of L'Orge-Bache,
Oh yeah,
Sometimes I
quite a
do
bit then.
2010, but it's up how long the wine can age. And sometimes I also just buy smaller charges, like just 6 bottles, if it's a good price, to put on the list. Old wines from Burgundy, yeah, not really. What we have from Romanée-Conti is still some 2012 left.
Wow.
Yeah, but not that much. We have some wines in white. We have Le Fleuve, some of the Grand Cru from 2014, because it was, I don't remember in which year they had a really small crop, and sometimes then they give you old vintages with the new release. If I have chances like this, I always buy, because the people are happy if they, because I hate to tell the people in the restaurant this wine can be nice in 10 years
Yeah, no,
because
yeah,
they
you got to be
drink it
careful
now.
with that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you appreciate it when somebody orders a wine like that and would you like to taste it because maybe you haven't had a chance to taste it? Like, let's say I do this all the time. If I order something I think it's interesting, obviously some somms will they're going to smell it and taste it. But do you appreciate it when somebody offers you go get a glass and let's
Yeah,
taste this
I
together?
always just take a little sip, and then I say cheers to the people and say I will bring it somewhere and enjoy it with a little bit time. Maybe I taste a little sip and take my time when all the customers have left, because it's sometimes, yeah, can take too long when you spend too much time just with. I don't want to show the other table that I'm drinking with one table. I just do like this. Thank you. And if
Very
you
kind.
want to share it with me, I would bring it behind, and I can give my colleagues as well a little bit of that. That's what I prefer.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with the stock because we're already at 52 minutes. I know it goes
Yeah.
very fast, but it's something to do with your trade and what you're doing. And I'm sure you're in the same ilk, but we were in Palermo and there was a somm that brought the list. And there were two things that impressed me. One, the the way he presented the wine, his enthusiasm to present us and to display and to decant and to check and the way his energy was working, what it made me feel as just a client, just a regular diner, that this gentleman really appreciated the fact that we were there and that we asked his opinion and that he wanted to show this wine, whatever wines they were, didn't matter. We had two or three different wines, that there was something special going on his side of the table. And that's sort of almost a recommendation here, because wine is all about the experience and the stories we talked about, but the way this gentleman made you feel that you were in his care to present that wine and to make you feel like, wow, I really, this is really great.
Yeah.
Was a really important. And he was Albanian and but we were in Palermo, and I've said this story a few times. Is that like how you feel about it? Like you want your diners to just feel the energy that you've brought to the table.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to share that with my colleagues as well. It's like I always, when we do some trainings with the staff, I tell the people that we are not order taker. We should surprise the people that they get a special moment. We create really special moment. The people should not forget that they have a reason to come back. And even in these really difficult times when the people are really looking at their money and they don't go out like easily every day. It's really
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you go in a hotel as we are, it's a lot of money what they have to bring if they come. And
That's
there
right.
are a lot of other places, and you have to make something special what the others don't do. and that they remember the people who are working there. You should not be the
Excellent.
superstar. You should feel them, that they are the superhero when they are coming. And then it is that they really feel like coming home, and give them a good time if they are here. Yeah.
Excellent. That's right on, and that'll never change. And that is probably why we do this in the first place, is to
Yeah.
get people to emote like that. It's been such an honor to have you on the show, and a pleasure. And I wish you luck. And I'm not sure that Hamburg is in our most recent travels, but certainly if we ever get that way, we'd love to visit you.
But it's really beautiful.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Maybe not that much sun as in California, but we have a lot of wind which blows the clouds away.
No, it's beautiful. It looks sounds
Yeah.
beautiful.
So I
Thank you.
can send you a picture of our place, and maybe one day you come to visit us. Yeah, would be great.
I have more time than I did, and it's certainly going to be something in the back of my mind as part of our wine bucket list. How to experience food experience bucket list.
And
thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah.